section. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 and 981. You can also tweet at smooth981. My analysts are conversing. Okay, well, the analysts are in. It's Lakunle and Devoe. Good morning.
Good morning, President Zibby. Good morning, Devoe. Good morning, listeners. Let's have a good day.
Sorry, good morning, world, morning, smooth. Lakunle, new day, new week. Cool protests at sea, no protest.
It's freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1. All right, so our first headline this morning comes from Vanguard. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. 0809 440 981. That's the WhatsApp number. You can also tweet at Smooth981. And we're also streaming live on YouTube. So you can post a comment underneath the live stream. And it is Smooth981. You can also subscribe as well, just so you don't miss out, really. From Vanguard, Tinubu to youth, protest needless. I'm addressing your grievances. Daily Post also has a headline which speaks about Nigerian government holding emergency meeting with ministers. Devoe?
Well, I guess it's been on eyes, lips, ears, and now stomachs of many Nigerians that they for a way out of the pains and the sufferings. And for a long time, even before this administration came on board, so many initiatives to tackle the Nigerian economy. However, ever so often, when people get pushed to the wall, or when they can't take it or bear the pain anymore, what they do is they act out, or in some cases, they protest. The protest is just a single act of making your voice heard. If some people through letters, through meetings have not heard you, as in the old parlance of Ensa as Sorosoke. For those who don't understand it just means speak louder. Now, with the feelers and indicators and also social media communication going out from different locations that there was a protest, that there is a protest being planned for the 1st of August. The government has been reacting in many ways to try and douse it or to try and stop it. And now the federal government is speaking directly, especially the president through the Minister of Information, who has been speaking, because this is despite the fact that many funding organizations have been coming up to say that youth should not embark on any protest. But the president has spoken through the Minister of Information, saying that the protest is needless and that he is addressing the grievances and that they're holding emergency meetings with ministers to see how they can address the cost of living crisis, and that's there's really no need to protest. Now, this is also on coming at the same time where we're having some, what I call it, at some level of agitation in terms of the special advice on the press from the presidency, who the Labour Party, former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, has sued him to court, I think for about 5 billion, requesting an apology for trying to accuse him and his supporters of being the ones who were sponsoring the protest, saying that it was highly treasonable. And I think Patutomi has also said that Ononuga should produce proof that he was involved in planning this protest, or else a 500 billion litigation would be on mute. Now, the point is this, right? I think governments should act as they have given the renewed hope mandates. It's funny that this same government, who had been part of former protesting administrations prior to this time, are the ones asking people not to protest. It's a constitutional guaranteed right. And many times, especially this party, APC, has been against people protesting. I mean, there are many protests that we can count down, and not to talk of the right now, either the famous or infamous NSAS protest of 2020, whereby peaceful youths came out in different parts of this nation to speak up their minds, even though they blocked some roads. At the end of the day, hoodlums were sent to them, and from hoodlums, which
is that confirmed that and so who sent these hoodlums, Devoe? We know that protests were hijacked. There was violence, but okay.
These politicians eventually sent the military, and the military can only come out if government is involved.
Okay, now, we can confirm the military, but we cannot confirm that the government brought out hoodlums to attack protesters. That is speculation. Well, politicians are in government, aren't they?
At what point are the Nigerian government at various levels, federal, state, and local government, going to come out and listen to their people or hear their people? You don't even have to wait for a protest or keep trying to assuage them not to protest. Are their plight or their cries unfounded? Is it that they're not hungry? Is it that when you hear a big power from your own that you don't believe it? And this is the tone-deaf position that most governments take, especially after they've gone into government. This is not even about referencing Kenya or any other country that has attempted it. The point is, these same politicians were the same politicians who went around the people when they were trying to get elected. They moved around when it came to elections. Yet, when they're now in power, they seem not to be able to come down and speak to their people. We've said it times without number that for the issues that Nigeria faces, especially the economy, the two twin policies that were taken, the OT law, that's the subsidy removal plus the FX harmonization, obviously had an impact. Therefore, they didn't follow through with the plugging the leakages and the gaps in terms of corruption, crude oil theft, subsidy theft, and all the thefts that go along with government to enable Nigerians to at least have some succor. We cannot continue living by palliatives. Even the palliatives that they claim are being given, most Nigerians don't get to receive them. So at this point in time, if maybe your own way or your own approach was not working, the best you could do is to have stakeholder sessions, stakeholder emergency sessions, just like we did in COVID. It's not new. And contact your people. Get in touch with these people. You don't have to wait the 1st of August. Today, right now, instead of holding closed door meetings amongst yourself, you need to hold those meetings with the people, with the youths. It's not about the youths. It's not only the youths that are hungry. The children are hungry. The mothers and the women are hungry. The working population is clearly hungry. Your multidimensional poverty, I'm sure if you take the survey now, it will run into 180 million Nigerians. This is the expectation of the Tinubu Shetima-led organization. You said we shouldn't pity you. So pity us in this point and come out and hear us through all your ministers. Don't have closed door meetings. Find out whether even the steps that you have taken have actually gotten to the people at the end of the day. This is how you gain confidence. This is how you gain the respect and also the patience of Nigerian citizens, especially when you're going through tough times.
All right. Thank you, Devoe. Lakunle, did you want to add something quickly, please?
So quickly, my thoughts is that what is the use of history? What is the use of experience? If I go to look for a job now, they ask me what's my experience, what this role I'm asking for. Why do I refer to those two things? History has shown us that protests, public gatherings for political reasons don't end well. We have seen it in several places, not just in Nigeria. We've seen it in Kenya, we've seen it in France, we've seen everywhere, we've seen it in Argentina, and we know why it ends. And the innocent people always end up suffering the brunt of when this thing goes up and properties are lost, people's properties are looted, lives are lost, and so on and so forth. While we are saying that it is a guaranteed right for people to protest, don't also forget that it's also a guaranteed right for other people not to want to protest, and you should not use your protest to disrupt their lives. So, in my opinion, it's good to protest. So, if we want to protest, let the organizers approach, say, for example, the management of a stadium, give their identities, pay if they have to pay.
Who will pay for that?
So those are the things that we need to do. We need to be able to pay face to the organizers of the protest so that we can hold them responsible for anything that goes wrong, that they do not disrupt the lives and peace of those who do not want to protest, right? So that is the perception which I'm coming at. It is our right to protest, yes. It's also some people's right not to protest, and we should not use our own rights to disrupt other people's rights.
All right, thank you, Lakunle. Let's go on to the messages. Adegboyega says, Please tell President Bola Tinubu that those behind the August 1st protest are known hungry men, not the presidential candidates from the Labour Party. Okay. So once again, please tell your rep, and your rep will pass that message on. Hungry men that are tired of starvation, increase in fuel prices, insecurity, inflation, and more. And if the president is saying he's addressing the issues, he should come out and join the protest as he did in previous administrations. Let's go on to this message from Ajayi Olonilua. Ajayi says, begging the youth not to protest cannot solve the problem when the bad policies of subsidy removal and floating the naira continue to create galloping inflation that has pushed the cost of foods out of the reach of the masses. A hungry man is an angry man. Abbas says, protest is a right for every citizen, as it is also a right for citizens not to participate in a protest. So we hope those protesting will not lock down everywhere like it was done during the end SARS, which eventually resulted in the carnage we experienced in Lagos. They should not stop people from moving and bringing in food to the States. We cannot forget how Nnamdi urged his supporters to do certain things across the country. How many of us have called out our governors since they started receiving more money from the central? Lots of messages coming through. Keep them coming. 0809 440 981. And let's go on to this message. And this one is coming from Nedu. Nedu is like, Lakunle, what are you speaking about? I believe Lakunle is speaking about what is in the headline, what is in the news. Let's see. Pastor Dakbo says, nothing illegal about protest, and there's no cause without an effect. It's better to vent out uncomfortable feelings rather than pretending that all is well. People standing up for their constitutional rights is not against the law. Mahatma Gandhi led a peaceful protest in India, which resulted in good political reforms today. Unfortunately, as Nigerians, we cross our boundaries and miscreants turn the whole thing upside down. This is one of the concerns people have about the protests.
Yeah. And I would also quickly add that there are different forms of protest. It doesn't always have to do with storming the streets. You can go and sit down at the homes of these councillors, LG chairmen, state governors, commissioners, their homes. Yes, because since they won't be in their offices anytime you go and sit in front of their houses, turn by turn.
Some of them live in when
you will get the attention. You know why I say this? Because these same politicians, Zibby, you are here. When it's time for election, they will come to you.
Exactly.
They will come to distribute this rice that cannot reach us. They will bring the rice. They will bring the beans and the recharge cards. They know how to reach you. But when
Devoe bees that security.
They disappear. No, please. Instead of protesting on the streets, go to their house and sit down.
The next story will give us an inkling into what this is all about.
All right, let's move on to the next headline. And this one comes from Daily Trust. Children abandon schools in Bayelsa community due to lack of teachers. Lakunle?
So the first thing I did, seeing the story, okay, so I said to myself, what is the educational qualification of the governor and the deputy governor? That's the first thing I went to check. And guess what? The governor of Bayelsa State, His Excellency Oyediri, has a national certificate in education in 1985 and a Bachelor of Education degree from University of Port Harcourt in 1990. So he is a trained teacher. And today he's governor. And this story is coming from a state where he's governor. It doesn't stop there. Now, Bayelsa is number 3 in what do you call it? Oil mining. Okay. They are number 4 in FAC allocation. 13%. They are also part of 13% derivation. There is also the NDDC. There are also the Niger Delta Ministry. And wait for it. How did I skip my head? I'm trying to not to get upset with. Okay, yeah. I mean, there is the big elephants, the superb challenge from the federal government. For every kobo you put on the table, I will match it. The governor is a trained teacher. He was a member of the National Assembly, albeit for a short period. He ran for governor from Senate in 2018 or so, I think. I can't remember the year, but so that's where we are. And the people of Bayelsa, they are just 1.9 million people, 8 local governments. So when you put all these things together, Bayelsa should not be the state where you will hear that children don't have schools to go to. One of the community leaders in Ekeremo, the community where this has been reported, says they are afraid that their children will grow up to become miscreants. We just spoke about miscreants hijacking protests now. But if there were no miscreants, we would not be having the conversation that we cannot protest because it will be hijacked. That's one angle. Now, there is also the amnesty. I forgot that one. The amnesty program that is still ongoing. So when you look at all of this, you put all of this together, it is heartbreaking. And the people of Bayelsa and the people at Bayelsa are not protesting against their governor, but they want to protest against the federal government that is far away when the bulk of the money that will make their life better is right in front of them. So I beg you, the people of Bayelsa State, whether you live at home or abroad, that you are listening to us today, challenge your House of Assembly members, challenge your governor, challenge your House of Rep members at the federal level, challenge the ones in the Senate at the federal level, challenge the man who is chairman of the NDDC. I think he's also from Bayelsa, the current one. I think he's from Bayelsa. Don't go on the air when they remove your man from a position and say that you make the country ungovernable. When you can make your state governable and be at peace with yourself there. It's more important that where you live is first where you live is first place. If that place is peaceful and is prosperous, other people want to come and live there with you. Please challenge these people. It is unbelievable in 2024 that we are having this conversation that there are no schools in a whole community. And the state has a governor, it has a deputy governor, that Ekremo has a member of the State House Assembly sitting. They have the local government chairman.
The unfortunate thing is that Bayelsa State is one of the states that produced militants.
Absolutely.
They agitated to the extent that the federal government, in conjunction with other states, have given them some things that we have mentioned. Now the money has been given to them. They don't know what to do. They have filtered it, stolen it amongst themselves.
President Tinubu removed one Bayelsa man from one agency recently. The response of Bayelsa, some people from Bayelsa was, we'll make the nation ungovernable if you don't return him.
It's blind politics, and the people of Bayelsa should be ashamed, should be completely ashamed. If I hear your mouth, if I hear pain from anybody in Bayelsa, your 2 million is not bigger than the size of Aja. 2 million people is not bigger than the size of Aja, and the billions. It's just that we don't have the figures here. The billions that come to Bayelsa, yes.
In 2023, now the truth was 286 billion.
This is not a problem that is peculiar to Bayelsa alone. There are so many other schools. I understand.
Highlighting this. If you bring Oyo tomorrow, we will highlight it the same way.
But I just want to, I understand. Absolutely. It's a problem that is replicated all
everywhere. Exactly, you get it. So we need to start highlighting it so that people will hear it. 1.9 million people, divide 1.9 million people.
All right, we need to take a break. Devoe, we need to go on a quick break. Stay with us. It's Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Sorry,
you guys don't want me to play First Bank and people watch First Bank to pull their sponsorship. Oh my god.
No, you go play.
Oh my god. Oh man.
Is it the story again?
The NG cares, yeah.
Yes.
There's just so much money that is.
Let me explain something about this. You need to understand that. Bayelsa is just like Gabon.
I know Bayelsa. I did mine when I say Bayelsa.
Do you know 2 million people? VI has more than
all of us in VI today. We have 2 million people already.
It's just a small community. Do you understand the billions that they have?
All right, let's go on.
The case is worse than even the boss.
They wanted to.
I want to do this.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Zibby here. I've got my analysts all fired up and ready to go. It's Lakunle and Devoe. The messages coming through, please keep them coming. We'll come to the messages shortly. 0809 440 981. And you can also tweet at Smooth981. We're streaming live on YouTube, so you can catch the live stream on our YouTube channel. It's Smooth981. From Daily Trust, NG Cares. FG reimburses states FCT 438 billion naira to boost social protection. Devo?
Yes. To him, when there's good done, it should be credited. In this instance, we must credit the Bola Tinubu Shetima-led administration for this action. This is them, as the federal government is reimbursing the state government for some of the money that they spent during COVID. Remember COVID, that was 2020. And here about 34 states were verified. Hence about 430 billion was reimbursed with Zamfara getting about 49 million. 49 billion. Nasara about 27 billion. Then Plateau 26 billion at the top of the list. Kaduna and Anambra didn't present results. And basically, these are results of what the states did during COVID. If you remember at that period, there were many efforts that were undertaken through the state governments to actually reach the people. And some were effective, some were not. But to a large extent, we saw how a lot of the palliatives, that's when the word became popular, were stored up either in warehouses that nobody knew the locations. And like I told you, Zibby, these politicians that seem not to know who you are, when it was time for elections, they will find you and they will share the needful. Now, you see, the problem here is this, right? As the states are getting this reimbursement, how are they using it to improve the lot of their own residents and citizens? Sometimes we always pounce on the federal government. Oh, Tinubu, in those days, there was no sentence without Buhari being mentioned 3 times. Buhari is now in Daura resting, right? But even in his time and the times before, with the GJ, with the Obasanjo, we run a federation, meaning the federal government takes about 50% of the equation. The states, well, until maybe the LG financial autonomy is effected, they still bully, they still have 50% of the equation. And the point is that because the states are closer to you, the bulk and the bulk of pressure should be on state government. You can see here, the federal government is helping them again to reimburse what they had spent back in the COVID days. Now, what are the plans that the state government has? How are the state governments, what are they using this money for? Just like the last story, why Bayelsa was such a chronic, tragic case, which requires serious scrutiny, is that Bayelsa has about 2 million people. 2 million people is not more than VI. 2 million people is not more than Nigeria. If it's 2 million people, that means Ikeja is a country. Now, how is it that Bayelsa, with the schools, with the education, with the few positions that they have, with all the noise that they make, cannot afford school teachers, can't even pay? Bayelsa is among some of the states that have outstanding salaries for its civil servants. Questions need to be asked. This is where you hold your leaders accountable. It's not about creating protest and saying, we're hungry, we're hungry. Bayelsa people, you have no reason to be hungry. You have no reason to join others. This Bayelsa case is worse than even northern states that have large land, that have more people, and yet do not have enough. Yet Bayelsa has and cannot. So in this case, with this FG cares, the question Nigerian citizens should be asking their state governments is, this extra money that you're getting, ask through your state assemblies, what is it for? How is it going to be spent? What channels are going to be used? How is this money? What are the things that you're going to buy? Remember, it's not only food that is the plight of the people. You have the food crisis, you have the health crisis, cost of drugs for many people. People are dying, people are living wretched lives because they cannot afford the pills for high blood pressure, for arthritis, for HIV, for diabetics, etc. and co. Energy costs in terms of cooking, in terms of school fees, in terms of keeping your lights on. Nigerian citizens, this is how you hold your government accountable. This is a true protest, not storming the streets.
All right, thanks, Devoe. Let's move on to the next headline, and this is coming from Punch. Tinubu signs a Northwest Development Commission bill.
So,
Lakunle?
so the first question to ask ourselves, I think that in it was in President Yar'Adua's time or Jonathan's time that we had the Niger Delta Development Commission. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. At that time, I remember saying that sometime in the future, the other regions are going to have their own development commissions.
Yeah.
Because we know that in Nigeria, everything the politicians touch, they make a joke of it at the end of the day. Now, we've had a Northeast Development Commission. What was the excuse? Boko Haram, this, that. Now we have Northwest Development Commission. What is the excuse? Boko Haram, insecurity, banditry, da. Sometimes the people of Southwest are already asking for a Southwest Development Commission today. Southeast are asking for. South we ask.
Senate shuts it
They're already
down.
asking for Senate shut it down because they already have a Niger Delta Development Commission. So what do they need another one for again? South. So they have to. So having said the politics part of it, you ask yourself, so if you create all these commissions, then why do we have governors? Why do we have local government chairman? When you take the jobs the governors and local government chairmen should be doing, you give it to a commission. Where is the money going to come from? You are reducing the money that's going to the government and giving it to them. The experience of the Niger Delta Commission to date, have we seen anything productive out of it? Can anybody be proud that since they started the NDDCO, I am proud that this is what they have done that has affected the life of people? They had a chairman once who claimed that he spiritually said you should burn 400 and something million naira so that they will not remove him from seats. So what should we expect of these ones? The idea of it is beautiful when you look at it on paper to accelerate development, blah, 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 blah. But then, what do we end up getting? I always go back. You see, they always say that when you deceive me once, is on me. When you deceive me twice, or is it on you? I can't remember that. I'm a bit upset. I'm not even able to put these things together correctly this morning. And so you look at all of these things, you are asking yourself, where should we go? What is good for us? Like every day you hear people say one cliche now that is becoming popular. If anybody Nigeria explains Nigeria to you and you understand it, it means the person didn't explain it well, right? So we create this thing. What is going to be the expected outcome? How are we going to get there? Who are going to do it? Congratulations to the Northwest for the commission they have. We hope that they use it well.
All right, let's look at a few messages coming through. AB says, I agree fundamentally with Lakunle's disappointment with what Bielsa has done with what it gets. But the solution isn't to blame the people of Bielsa because they are victims of a perverted political system. Rather than frothing at the people, show that same energy against the national constitution system that takes their resources from them. The solution to all this is resource control. Then the news from Bielsa and elsewhere will not merit the kind of attention given this morning. By the way, what have the rest of Nigeria done with the resources they've expropriated from Bielsa and other Niger Delta states? Created multi-dimensional poverty with a question mark. That's from AB Bozimo. 1 second, let's go on to Yinka Bolu. Yinka says, I'm not sure if you're active on Twitter, but there's a pattern. Mr. Bayo can have his own bad behavior, but we cannot turn a blind eye to the fact that the whole noise about protest is louder in a certain camp. Now, anyone can protest because it's their right, but please don't block the road or burn anything. Now, once again, the government is communicating. Whether we choose to hear it or not is another conversation. Let's see. We're almost out of time. There are so many messages coming through. Let's see. Okay, this one is from Shooks, and he says one of the analysts was a big proponent of oil deregulation. He said with the deregulation, more players will enter the business and prices will calm down. What do you think now? Deborah says, quite a heated conversation this morning. My heart breaks for Nigeria. I wouldn't say it's heated. It's healthy discourse. Exactly. That's a better one. I'm so sorry we're out of time. We can't read all the messages, but thank you for listening. Thanks for your messages. And thank you for your passion for Nigeria. And that is it for Freshly Pressed. Thank you, our analysts, Lakunle and Devoe, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, President Zibby, for having me.
Devoe?
AB, are you from Bayelsa?
He's not from Bayelsa, but I'm sure a lot of people share AB's opinion. But that's not why he's saying it, because, you know, sometimes the people truly are the victims.
No, yes, we agree. But because we are, all of us, myself inclusive, are laid back. That's why that's why we are the victims.
What have they done with the assets? They want to ask for them.
All right. Once again, hold your people accountable. It's not just a Bayelsa thing. It's not just a Lagos thing. It's a Nigerian thing. They made me so extra this morning. Well, thanks for listening. This day with us. There's more to come on the Sweet Breakfast.